The early 19th century in the burgeoning United States was a crossroads on the route to becoming the nation we see today. One in which a wide variety of factors collided as changing social attitudes and unprecedented new pressures culminated in the establishment and maintenance of vast, elaborate, and haunting cities of the dead which you can still visit today. The churchyard cemeteries of the colonial and early independence period were cramped and overcrowded plots, often 5 burials deep, prone to issue in low-lying areas where flooding could disinter a multitude of grave sites, which raised health concerns, placed as they were amongst the dense and growing denser populations of the cities of New England. The concurrent Second Great Awakening, a vast and widely expressed period of religious revivalism amongst the various denominations of Protestant Christianity in the United States, variously expressed, most notably to our discussion in the rapture theology of William Miller and the emergence of spiritualism, both extensive topics in their own rights. Suffice to say, each is connected to views regarding death, and you are likely aware of at least some of the beliefs of each movement as they've achieved ubiquity in our modern culture. The widespread popularity of neoclassical and Greek revival architecture in the United States beyond the English fashions of the Augustan period, after which Romanticism became ascendant in European circles, can be tied to a number of factors. The natural tendency of an outlying region to retain fashions longer than the heart of the empire, which served to reinforce the established visual and ideological ties of the new republic to both ancient Rome and Greece, as well as the continuing centrality of the classics to the education of the time, all served to keep the appeal of this particular milieu in the American aesthetic vibrant. These factors, amongst others, led to multi-acre, botanically diverse arboretums being established where both the living and the dead could enjoy these enormous grounds of maintained gardens, replete with Greek and Egyptian revival statuary, monuments, and mausoleums miles beyond the then city limits. In an era before public parks, these privately maintained spaces served the same purposes, with families picnicking and enjoying other outdoor activities amidst the resting places and monuments. The coming violence of the Civil War in the central years of the 1800s only served to strengthen this connection, as more than 500,000 war dead were interred, bringing their families to visit and grieve. Throughout the remaining years of the 19th century and into the early 20th, the landscape and architectural design of these spaces influenced and responded to design beyond the cemetery. But the developments that arose from such cross-pollination led to the American public park system and the demise of the centrality and ubiquity of the rural cemeteries. Public parks, like those designed by Frederick Law Olmsted and his protégés in cities across the country, offered all the amenities without the clutter of graves that were now coming to fill the once open acres of those rural cemeteries, which, with the growth of the neighboring cities, were once again at or within the city bounds. As the 20th century United States embraced the automobile, fostering urban sprawl with all its associated environmental, racial, and socioeconomic impacts, these fragile islands of once rural garden found themselves abutting freeways, industrial parks, and disadvantaged neighborhoods wildly at juxtaposition to these cemeteries' once wealthy occupants and their lavish tombs. The rolling hills beyond the brick wall teem with armies of squirrels, ducks, geese, swans, deer, all at odds to their urban environs. It's reported that the deer in these cemeteries are beginning to exhibit island dwarfism, growing smaller than their wild counterparts. I've had people question why so many of our videos are recorded in these places, and I'm trying to provide that answer here. As pagans of a neoclassical bent, there are very few spaces that answer to our aesthetic desires that are also open to the public, free of both charge and disapproving observers. But here, in these absolutely magical and liminal spaces, colonnades, pagan temples, sphinxes, obelisks, goddesses, rare trees, beautiful flowers, Magical islands, black swans, hidden caves, and tiny deer all come together with the deep emotions of the constant presence of these honored ancestors. And I ask, how can that not be something holy? Thank you all for joining us today. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a like, subscribe, watch another video, links on screen.